All praises be to Ahaya, Bahashem Yeshaya, Quadash Warawak. Father, you're worthy to be praised. All praises be to the Most High.
Shalom, brothers and sisters. Another Rikar Shiar of the Gathering of Christ Church. I hope you all are doing well. I hope you all are doing well. Are we in for a blessed Sabbath lesson today? I'm glad you're here. We're up to 1700, so let me just jump right in. Elder Lawyer, are you with me? You with me, young man?
Sure, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Let me turn you up just a little. All right, we have Elder Lawyer. Split screen, he's in the house. How are you?
Well, sir. Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm blessed by the Almighty. One thing here, 1 second here. Hope everyone is doing well. Shalom, my brothers and my sisters. Let a few more come in, then we'll jump right into it, okay? We'll jump right into it. Okay, Lawyer, how are you doing this morning, young man?
Well, couldn't be any better.
Blessed by the best, and his name is Ahaya. That's right, that's right.
That's right.
That's right. I'm excited about the academy tomorrow. I'll be going into dabbling into the 12 Caesars tomorrow. So I'm going to be dabbling into that. But let's go, and it's going to tie right into our lesson today. Tomorrow will tie directly into this. It's like we're just going straight from the Sabbath into the academy, transitioning smoothly with the lessons here. Shalom, brothers and sisters. I'm Elder Rikar Shiar along with Elder Lawyer. Today, our lesson, you got it. The rise of the 10 horns. Babylon the Great is fallen. Okay. Babylon the Great is fallen. We'll be going into Revelation, the 17th and 18th chapter, to prove beyond any shadow of a doubt, brothers and sisters, that we are definitely living in the last days. Let's jump right in. Elder Lawyer, if you can start us off with the Hebrew Credo.
Shema Yasha'Allah Ahaya Allahaya Nawa Ahaya Akan.
Shema Yasha'Allah Ahaya Allahaya Nawa Ahaya Akkad.
Shema Yasha'Allah Ahaya Allahaya Nawa Ahaya Akan.
Shema Yasha'Allah Ahaya Allahaya Nawa Ahaya Akkad.
Shema Yasha'Allah Ahaya Allahaya Nawa Ahaya Akan.
Shema Yasha'Allah Ahaya Allahaya Nawa Ahaya Akkad.
O Israel, the Lord our God is one.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. Okay, brothers and sisters, this is Elder Rikar Shiar, the Gathering of Christ Church. We're going into the rise of the 10 horns. And the lesson today, Babylon the Great has fallen. The rise of the 10 horns, Babylon the Great has fallen. Now, Elder Lawyer, I need you to hold Revelation 17, the 17th chapter, and Revelation 8, the 18th chapter. We're going to go through both of them today. Now, let's jump in, because the plan is the rise of the 10 horns. All power, politically and religiously, is going back to the 10 horns, folks. Rome. Rome will rule at the end. And folks, and this is what we've been telling these pastors for a long time. Western world's Christianity was never Christ's Christianity. It was hijacked by Edom, by Rome. And even Paul told us in Thessalonians, the mystery of iniquity doth already work. They were trying to take over during Paul's time, during Christ's time. But they were patient enough to wait for our people to fall in 70 AD and implemented the strong delusion, the Babylonian religion, the worship of Semiramis, Tammuz, and the gods who rule Babylon, which is the strong delusion that they might believe a lie. We told you the whole time you weren't following Christ or the Bible or Christianity. The whole time. It was a Babylonian religion and a political system systematically in place to do what? To keep the children of Israel at bay, to oppress us long enough to destroy us. The strong delusion that they might believe a lie. That's why we bring forth the understanding of Christ's true birth and how he came. Because the virgin birth is part of that strong delusion. Folks, if you believe a lie on Christ, they can lie on everything else. They can lie on it with everything else, starting with Christ. The virgin birth didn't come from the New Testament understanding and ideology. It came from Babylon.
Come in and see the Immaculate Conception. This is called the Batai Sokar Shrine, by the way. Batai Sokar Shrine. Many of the reliefs have been chiseled out. Fortunately, this one is here telling of the first virgin birth resurrection story, where the goddess Aset forms herself into a bird and descends on top of Osiris' penis. Although you see the chiseling out of his penis, because many of the Europeans who were coming in during the Roman times could not deal with the sacredness of the body like Theodosius and Justinian and others. But Isis is going to take the seed from his body to impregnate herself. And this is the earliest concept of the Immaculate Conception, long before an angel of the Lord and Gabriel coming to Mary and said she's going to be with the Holy Child. Look how Asar is lying out on the bed. Look how the Romans copied the concept. Let's go to Rome. See the Pope lying out on the same bed, same hedge crown that Asar is wearing as well, same funeral beds, even got the lion heads that you see right here, even down to the detail of the lion heads of the funeral bed. Now, the only difference is instead of a bird perpendicular to the Pope, they have the white Mary and Jesus, the European Mary and Jesus. But here, let's take and put a set right above here, and you got the same story, the prototype of the Madonna and Child, where she was known as the Theotokos, the Mother of God. Then she in turn becomes impregnated, and she's in the form of, in this form, as the Mheted Ra, or the sacred baboon, because the baboon representing birth. You see her stomach swelled up, now impregnated with the Holy Child. Here we see it, the earliest Holy Child concept of a virgin birth story. Here's the prototype of it all. This was the origin where people would come in. These temples were covered in sand. After they took everything they wanted, then it was covered up. Time took them over. Now we're dug out to come back to see where the story came from.
Okay, and I'm going to break it down with graphs in the academy. It came from Babylon and was picked up by Rome. It's a political and a religious system working together simultaneously to do what? As a pyramid, to oppress the children of Israel throughout the four corners of the earth. It's an ideology. It's a delusion. We're going in now. If you want to continue to believe the delusions, that's on you. Okay? It's on you. We're wide awoke. We're going to believe the Bible as it is written. Okay? The rise of the 10 horns and the fall of Babylon. Elder Lawyer, let's get Revelation 17. Stick with us. 17 and 1.
Revelation chapter 17, verse 1. And there came one of the 7 angels which had 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters.
I will show you the judgment of the great whore that sit on many waters. If you want to know what's going on in this earth today, I don't care who you are, Jew and Gentile alike, listen up. You're about to get the understanding. The prophetic understanding that was given to John on the Isle of Patmos concerning the time we're living and breathing in right now. The whore that sitteth on many waters. That means she'll go, set up a church, set up a military base, and guess what? Never leave that country. Consolidating power from one coast to the next, like America was colonized. She sits on many waters. She set up her religious apparatus, the strong delusion. The Bible isn't the strong delusion. It's the religion and ideology that's taught through Rome. That's the delusion. They'll set up the delusion to keep the people in a generational psychosis state, delusional state. And then they'll set up what? A military force to give power behind their religious apparatus. And they'll do this every place to enforce their ideology against the children of God. Read.
2. With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with what?
Wine of her fornication.
The wine of her fornication. What is this talking about, brothers and sisters? Spiritual fornication. They lied to you, folks. America wasn't built on the principles and ideologies and understandings of the Bible. Okay? This country was built out of all satanic religions, working together like they once were at the Tower of Babel. The wine of a fornication. What's in the chalice or the Pope's cup, you might ask? Spiritual fornication against the God of Israel, against Christ. And whoever drink of that cup, religiously, politically, or monetarily, becomes drunk. See? So let's see if this is a physical wine. Hold that, Elder Lloyd, and get Isaiah 29 and 9. Isaiah 29 and 9. So all nations have partook of this cup. You see, it's East Indians all over the place. They on TV as experts now. The Asians came over. The other nations have come over. They all sip this cup in league against God's people to serve themselves of God's people in these poor communities. It's a conspiracy. Okay? All the nations knew the whole time that we were the children of Israel, folks, and drunk of that cup to get an opportunity to serve themselves with us, against us. Read it, Elder Lawyer. Come on.
Isaiah chapter 29, verse 9.
Yeah.
Stay yourselves and wonder. Cry ye out and cry. They are drunken, but not with wine.
They are drunken, but not with wine.
Stagger, but not with strong drink.
But they stagger, but not with strong drink. Who's staggering? Our people. We're staggering. With no home and no knowledge of ourselves, we're staggering from Pentecostal to Seventh-day Adventist. I need to find a church home. No, you need to find your home. You're staggering from one delusion to the next. You're staggering from this church to that church. All built, and all these ideologies were constructed by satanic Jesuits and Freemasons. You're staggering from this church to now Islam, an Arab religion, not realizing your imams, the original imams, were all Persian priests. They drunk from the cup a long time ago. They're Satanists. So you'll stagger from that church, one church, to a mosque, and then you will say, well, let me go to a Buddhist temple. Let me study yoga. Maybe I'll drink of that cup and help our people. This is how the Most High is viewing us, staggering from one place to the next. And he's like, listen, I've been here the whole time. I've been here. Open up the book and read it. What's in the cup? A strong delusion. And that's why there's no religious leader anywhere that we can find with an answer to what's going on in this earth. Can you find them? Where's your pastor? Where's your imam? What is he saying? Oprah don't even have nothing to say. I guess her and that other girl is quarantined up somewhere. No one has answers because why? They were drunk with the wine. Okay? They were deceived like the rest of the world. Read it, Elder Lawyer.
Here, 29, verse 10. For the Lord hath poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep.
Of deep sleep.
And have closed your eyes, the prophets and your rulers.
Your what?
Your prophets and your rulers.
Your prophets and your rulers. What is your yoga instructor telling you right now? No, they can't tell you anything. They're quarantined. Okay? I don't care how many candles you light or how much incense you light and move around the house, and I don't care what type of pose you put yourself in. There's no answers outside of his word right now. You've drunken the cup. But now it comes with a price. It comes with a price now. I'm going to go there in Revelation 17 and 18. Because all of the nations were complicit against us. And our people, in a thirst for power, took the cup. Just to have some recognition and power amongst poor people. You have no influence outside of the hood. But just to have power for a moment amongst the poor, you drunk the cup. And now, you know what they're going to do for you pastors? They're throwing you back with the rest of us. You're useless now. They've consolidated power and now have built their tower. They have no need for you. You have taught the delusion. You have taught the wickedness. And now they'll throw you back with the rest, folks. Anyone with any type of prestige or any type of influence in this earth who had the opportunity to do something with it, but didn't. I'm going to tell you that right now. They're going to say, listen, these celebrities and all that have too much power and influence. We must throw them back with the rest of them. Tear them down. Anyone with influence, tear them down. Well, who cares? Listen, it's like, okay, you have these famous basketball players, these famous people who, they got famous, they have serious talent. If we cannot use their influence to bring in our new world order, let's pull the plug. We're billionaires anyway. We own it all anyway. It doesn't affect us if they never shoot another basketball. We made hands over fists on these slaves. Okay? We were billionaires before we owned a team. If we can't use their influence and their celebrity to help us with this delusion against their people, let's pull the plug on it all, because they're going to use their influence and power and money against us. We don't care if they gather. We don't care if they're not going to do games to the gods we worship, pull the plug, because they're going to use the money and influence to help their people. Pull the plug on everything. Take Babylon down. See? Take them down. They become the beacon of the earth. And it's beyond our control, because the beacon of the earth has now become those poor people we've tried to keep down for so long. Everyone is following their trend. They've become the example of power within Babylon. Y'all don't hear me. Y'all check out what's going on. Check out what's going on right now, folks. Read.
29, verse 10. For the Lord hath poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep.
Of deep sleep, come on.
And have closed your eyes.
And have closed the eyes of the seers. That's what this drink does. If you believe anything from modern day Western religion and Western Christianity, if you believe any of it, you're under a delusion. The whole thing is a lie. The only way to actually receive the truth is to tear up everything you've ever learned in the Christian church and learn from scratch. That's it. Tear it all up. It was all a lie. Every last bit of it. Now, the Bible was true, but they weren't teaching the Bible, folks. They were teaching an ideology. An ideology and theory to uphold their system, their religion, the Babylonian religion. They weren't teaching the Bible. They were just using Bible verses. Not rightly dividing the word of truth. Not telling us that we were the people of Israel. They purposely cut us out of all ideology on purpose to push their Babylonian witchcraft, their sorcery, their wine. And now the whole earth is drunk. The whole earth is drunk now, looking for answers. The atheists who were attacking the Bible. The unbelievers who thought that the Bible was a myth. The people who didn't care for God or thought that God just forgot about this planet or this terrain, this earth. You're looking now, aren't you? You're trying to figure out what's going on now, aren't you? And your pastors have no answer. A matter of fact, your pastors are on life support right now. We told you a long time ago. They were going in our neighborhoods giving out the cup. The cup from the whore. Read on, other lawyer.
Close your eyes, the prophets and your rulers, the seers hath he covered.
The seers have he covered. They don't have the answers anyway. When the last time you seen a pastor go into the book of Revelation? When? They're covered. But we're here to give you the answers. Let's go back to Revelation 17. Let's hit it.
Chapter 17, verse 2. Number 2.
Come on.
With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
Now, when it says that the kings of the earth have committed fornication, they all are in league with this spiritual wine from Rome. Now, with that, folks, comes an agreement. In order for them to drink of that wine and partake of that wine, they must be in agreement against God's people. Now, if they partake in it, Rome or Europe will do business with them. See? So there's an agreement here. If you do this cup, it's a ritual with an agreement to uphold our empire and go against, at all cost, the children of Israel who are scattered throughout the earth. If you take of this cup, I will give you temporary benefits. You'll live higher than most. I'll cut deals with you. I'll give you loans. I'll set up businesses for you. But you cannot break the oath. If you drink of this cup, don't forget, the Pope is like the Godfather. If you drink of this cup, you are aligned with us to the end. And you are aligned with our enemies to the end, folks. But our people in the ghettos and in our neighborhoods, we don't even know that there's a target on us, that we're the enemy they're talking about. Because why? You don't know you're the children of Israel. You don't understand the agreement of the elite. I'm about to give you the agreement of the elite. In order for them to drink this cup and gain power and have shipping contracts, shore contracts where they can dock their products all over the earth, they must have an agreement. Elder Lawyer, what's that agreement? Talk to me. What is it? You know it. Psalms 83. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's get the agreement. Now, in the cup is an agreement against a particular people. See? See what I tell you? And you people who made this agreement with the whore, guess what? You've been double crossed. Okay? They're going to pull the plug on you too. See? You aligned yourself with the wrong team. You should have been helping God's people. You should have been down with God's people, but you played on the wrong team. And our God, right now from the throne, is angry. Okay? Is angry. Because you, Gentile, you knew who we were the whole time. You knew we were a peculiar people, a special people. You knew there was something special about us. And a lot of you know the history of our forefathers according to prophecy, being of the 12 tribes of Israel. You knew this. But you allow the lie to continue, to aggrandize yourselves financially against God's elect. And now, it's payback. Because if you lie down with a snake, you will definitely get bitten. You will get a bite, folks, if you lie with snakes. Psalms 83, and let's talk about this agreement real quick. Let's go.
Psalms chapter 83, verse number 1.
Come on.
Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
All the enemies of God have lifted up their head, who made in a tumult or a noise or what you would call a grievous protest. They are against our God. This protest happened at the base of Edom, a place called Idumea, where all the Gentile nations outside of Israel began to conspire against the chosen people of Israel.
Ezekiel 35. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir. And prophesy against it, and say unto it, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate.
Houston, we see you on the steerable, over.
Roger, Eagle, contact.
Roger, how does it look?
The Eagle has wings.
Roger.
Contact light. Okay, engine stop.
We copy you down, Eagle.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Therefore as I live, saith the Lord God, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee, since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it him that passeth out, and him that returneth. And I will fill his mountains with his slain men, in thy hills, and in thy valleys, and in all thy rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword. mine, and we will possess it. Whereas the Lord was there. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord God, I will even do according to thine anger, and according to thine envy, which thou hast used out of thy hatred against them. And I will make myself known among them when I have judged thee. And thou shalt know that I am the Lord, and that I have heard all thy blasphemies, which thou hast spoken against the mountains of Israel, saying, they are laid desolate, they are given us to consume. Thus with your mouth ye have boasted against me. And have multiplied your words against me. I have heard them. Thus saith the Lord God, when the whole earth rejoiceth, I will make thee desolate, as thou didst rejoice at the inheritance of the house of Israel, because it was desolate, so will I do unto thee. Thou shalt be desolate, O Mount Seir, and all Idumea, even all of it, and they shall know that I am the Lord.
Edom is today the so-called white man or European. Okay? The Roman Empire, the Greeks, they're all Edomite empires. And their agreement was, if these people fall, we folks, as an empire, each nation must agree to keep the Israelites down. If they ever fall, right now, we can't attack them because they're God's people. But if they sin against that law that was given to Moses and fall, we must agree to keep them down to the point of total eradication. Because if not, these people will rise and never fall again. Let's make an oath. And what I'm breaking down, folks, is the beginning of what you would call your secret societies. Let's make an oath. You want to know what that oath is? It's in Psalms 83. Let's read it.
3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones.
Come on.
They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation.
Let us do what?
They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation.
Let us cut them off from being a nation, which means a race of people. When we find them in remote areas, we will colonize them and give them a different name. And by default, they'll become minorities. See? We'll do what? Cut them off.
Said, verse 4, they have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation.
Come on.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
That the name of Israel will be no more in remembrance. Make sure their children believe there's someone else once conquered and colonized. Let us. So everyone is just looking at what Rome did or what the white man did or the European. No, folks. All nations were complicit in this conspiracy. When we set up a religion and they ask who they are, make sure you respond back with this answer. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are. We're your teachers. Okay? Don't tell them anything. Don't let them know that they are connected to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because they'll begin to detest the gods we worship. Read.
5. For they have consulted together with one consent.
Hold up. One consent is what? One world order. One mindset.
Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order can emerge, a new era. And today that new world is struggling to be born. A world quite different from the one we've known. We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders. What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind.
Can it really be said that we're building a new world order when it's almost exclusively the United States who will be fighting in the desert?
So it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order, and instead it looks like we got a lot of disorder.
Strategy for America in this period, when really a new world order can be created, it's a great opportunity. We have to bring about, together with other countries, a different consciousness of what a world order is.
When our founders declared a new order of the ages, when soldiers died in wave upon wave for a union based on liberty.
In the process, and realizes what I believe is our destiny of success in this new world order. So, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, a new world is emerging. It is a new world order with significantly different and radically new challenges for the future.
Out of it came a new Europe, a new world order, a new consensus as to how life should and could be lived.
What that means is we've got to invest in countries that have no educational infrastructure, have no means for young people to get ahead. We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
I believe we, and particularly you, your class, has an incredible window of opportunity to lead in shaping a new world order for the 21st century.
The affirmative task we have now is to actually create a new world order, because the global order is changing again.
If someone had said to you in December that by April, millions of people all over the world would be infected with a mysterious new virus that has no vaccine, you'd think they were talking about a Hollywood script. It's happened so fast, it almost doesn't seem real.
A new normal.
A new normal.
It is a new normal that we all have to get used to.
I know a big question, Tom, from a lot of New Yorkers. When might we ever get back to normal? The governor talked today about working toward a new normal.
So we're going to a different place, which is a new normal.
This morning, almost 40 million Californians waking up to a new normal. Social distancing at schools and businesses.
You may be having dinner with a waiter wearing gloves, maybe a face mask. Dinner where the menu is disposable, where your temperature is checked before you walk in.
A new normal.
New normal.
Embrace the new normals of social distancing.
Now masks are becoming the new normal.
New normal and get to a new normal.
The new normal. Ready for the new normal.
Not normal, but a new normal.
Long lines for food becoming a new normal. Or the new normal.
What we will be seeking to do is find a new normal.
Get out of the lockdown and return to what will, by the way, be a new normal. It's not going to be the normal we experienced before the virus took hold.
When I say this is likely to be the new normal.
We will be having to live in a new normal.
This is the new normal. I'm just curious, when can we expect to go back to the true normal? When is this expected to peak? Do you guys have some sort of timeline or estimate in mind? Or?
So, as I have repeatedly said, this is our new normal.
If we are going to be able to move ahead into our new normal, we will find our new normal in the coming weeks.
To make sure that we can do everything we can to flatten the curve so that we can return not to the old normal, but to a new normal that allows us to function more and more openly as a society.
We can continue to improve how we work and play in this new normal. Get New Brunswick back to the new normal.
Because that really is going to be part of our new normal moving forward. So these are all elements of our new normal.
We will transition into the new normal.
What we consider normal before COVID-19 is still a long way from returning.
Think that this is going to be going back to normal in July? Think again.
This will be the new normal until a vaccine is developed.
What it's going to take for all of us to be able to return to normal?
The only thing that will really allow life as we once knew it to resume is a vaccine.
It won't go back to normal in some very rapid fashion.
The hard fact is, until we find a vaccine.
Until we get almost everybody vaccinated globally, we still won't be fully back to normal. You know, it's so important to get not just hundreds of millions, but literally billions of those vaccines, because this is a global problem. We want to get into this semi-normal phase as soon as we can, and then the vaccine is the thing that will change things. The thing that will get us back to the world that we had before coronavirus is the vaccine and getting that out to all 7 billion people.
The Great Reset. You may or may not have heard this phrase circling around the internet for a while. It sounds like something you might read in history books describing some historical event that changed the function of the world forever. Well, it's not in any history books yet. It's happening right now. Or at least, it might be happening right now. No one seems to be sure exactly what it is, when it will happen, or if it will happen at all. If that sounds confusing, you're not alone, as it seems almost everyone is as well. The Great Reset was proposed in May of 2020 by the World Economic Forum, an international non-government organization, or NGO for short, founded by Klaus Schwab, a German engineer and economist who also seems to be the leading force behind the idea of the Great Reset. The WEF is committed to improving the state of the world by, quote, engaging business, political, academic, and other leaders of society to shape global, regional, and industrial agendas. So, what is it? Well, it's essentially an action plan to enhance sustainable economic growth in the aftermath of the 2020 pandemic. The idea is that because the effects of the pandemic have been felt on a global scale, there is an opportunity to fundamentally change how the world economies function for the better. There seems to be a heavy focus on environmental sustainability, economic sustainability, poverty, and inequality in wage and income gaps. This all sounds pretty good so far, but this is actually where the trouble begins. You see, the amount of information that is available to the public is limited to say the least. On the World Economic Forum website, there is an entire page dedicated to the Great Reset Initiative. On the page you will find a few sentences with vague calls to action for global stakeholders to band together to directly manage the repercussions of the global crisis. Another section talks about there being a unique opportunity with the world and the state it's currently in. It feels a little strange to talk about the global crisis as a unique opportunity, and reading further they begin to talk about creating a new social contract directing national economies in new directions as well as the priorities of societies. It just all feels a little strange, and it begs the question, who are these people and how are they going to be able to do this? The only other pieces of information given are two videos. One being a 45-minute Zoom meeting with Klaus Schwab and a cast of other internationally involved individuals who are no doubt knowledgeable people, and the other being the WEF Sustainable Development Impact Summit 2020. Both of these videos are, to say the least, not very informative. There is a lot of talk, but never does anyone specifically lay out what the Great Reset is, or how it will be put into action. There is a lot of talk about poverty and homelessness in Los Angeles, refugees and the impact the pandemic has had on them, displaced people and joblessness, but most topics brought up in the Zoom meeting were in most cases pretty much common sense. Yes, people who don't have a lot to begin with, or were struggling prior to the pandemic, will most likely be affected the hardest. When things get tough, the first people to be affected are the poor and less fortunate. Presuming that was the point they were trying to make, that it's obvious that that's a problem and we need to fix it. That makes sense, but over the course of the entire conversation, no one ever related it back to the reset or put it into any context of any kind of actionable change. The whole thing has an air of convolution and people feel it's a little cryptic. However, it could just be a case of poor communication. The web page, the videos, the lack of information, it seems like they don't know who they are targeting with this message. It's almost as if they are trying to appeal to the rich and powerful, while at the same time trying to make the average person believe the message is for them. Global change will no doubt affect everyone, but it will be the powerful people who make it happen, and thus control the outcome. It seems like they put the minimum amount of effort into getting their message out, and whether that was on purpose or not, it makes the whole thing come across a little disingenuous. Because in the end, pushing for sustainability and financial recovery should feel like a good thing. Somehow they missed the mark by a long shot.
And if you're committed to doing what we should all be doing, which is to help people build back better with
stronger and build back better.
Hopefully we can just work on what we say, building back better.
We have a chance to build back better.
An opportunity to build back better.
To say we're going to build it back better.
To helping the Arab region build back better.
We will build back better from the COVID crisis.
We can build back better. And I'm looking forward to getting started as soon as we can.
The elite powers. The elite powers really have one agenda. Because all their power that they've consolidated was through our fall. It was through our fall that the whole earth became rich. See? So what happens when we begin to understand that we're the children of Israel? Read that, Elder Lawyer.
Verse 5. For they have consulted together with one consent.
In one mind.
They are confederate against thee.
And they are a confederate against us, folks. This is a political world establishment against us. When they meet behind closed doors, they're actually charting their success by how far they have destroyed us. They're charting how long they will rule by the number of people that are actually waking up amongst our people. Then the Bible identified the conspirators. Read.
6. The tabernacles of Edom.
Edom. He's the so-called European man. The full-blooded Edomite. Like, you got it, the Queen of England. Putin. All your European leaders, they're from the dukes and children of Edom. The majority of them you see over in Europe today are from Esau's grandson, Zepho. When you look at the Europeans that call themselves the people today, they're predominantly from Amalek. Amalek. They are at the pinnacle of this conspiracy. And it's through their cup all nations has agreed to drink. It's through their cup. So Edom is at the top of the pyramid. He's the all-seeing eye at the top, controlling the rest of your secret societies, your satanic societies. Read.
Tabernacles of Edom.
And the tabernacles of Edom, read.
And the Ishmaelites.
And the what?
And the Ishmaelites.
Ishmael is who? Folks, Ishmael is the Arabs. Now, right now, the Bible have identified the two largest religions that has always been against us. So the conspiracy of creating this Western world Christianity that Christ knew not and the disciples knew not, and this Islam that our forefathers knew not, was to do what? Was to keep us asleep. Now, Christianity, according to the Bible, according to Israel, according to our God, is correct. But it's a shame none of you have actually learned that Christianity. That's what we're learning and teaching now. But the Christianity that came from the cup is the conspiracy against God's people, where it was stated that they would make an oath to say, let us do what? Cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be not in remembrance. And the two at the top of this conspiracy are Edomites, which are Europeans, and Ishmaelites, who are Arabs. And our people are scattered and destroyed all over the earth through those two particular religions. It's not the Bible that's destroying us. It's the ideology of these conspirators against us. Those who have did what? Drunk the cup or the chalice of the whore. Let's go down to the 10th verse and let's go back to Revelation 17.
Verse 10. Which perished at Endor, they became as the dung of the earth, make their nobles like Oreb and like Zeb.
Go down to the 12th verse of the lawyer.
Yes, sir. Verse 12. Who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of God in possession.
So Ishmael, led by Edom, they both agreed in their, what you would call elite secret meetings, to set up religions, and by these religions they would be able to possess or take into captivity God's chosen people.
That is why I cannot
read it again.
the young woman.
Well, who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of God in possession.
The houses of God in possession. So if we can tell them it doesn't matter who they are, by default, our children and children will rule over theirs. And when any of them receive any light or become inquisitive to their history, we'll just all agree together to tell them it doesn't matter. See? Read.
12. Who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of God in possession.
In possession.
Verse 13. O my God, make them like a will as the stubble before the wind.
So a judgment is coming for this conspiracy against us, folks. And they know it. The powers that be, if they could, they would put a lid back on this thing and rule forever. They would put a lid on it. If they could, if they had the power to, they would go to all people who claim they're Israelites and say, well, listen, all right, you know what? Okay, straight out, we lied to you. It's all good. We lied to you, but right now we're in power. What type of agreement can we come to so that we can actually rule amicably together and actually, you know, have it where we can now overt the judgment that's coming to us? What type of agreement can we make? There is no agreement. Why isn't there an agreement? Because two powers cannot rule the same space. Either Esau is going to rule or Jacob is going to rule, according to Bible prophecy, and they know it. So they couldn't put a lid on it. At first, when the word was out and we were on the streets, late 80s, early 90s, all of the religions were just dismissing us. They ain't nothing. They just small, some crazy racists on the corner hollering. They'll never make an impact. And when they could no longer dismiss us, they try to discredit us. Oh yeah, they're just polygamous rape cults. You know, polygamous race cults that, you know. But the truth kept shining through all of their lies. So when they can no longer discredit us and dismiss us, they're like, you know what? Maybe we can destroy them. You know what? Let's destroy them now. Okay, let's destroy them. See? So if they could put a lid on this and have everyone go their merry way with Israel complicit, they would. They would. But you can't put a lid on this. Why? Because it was prophesied, and I'm going to go into this tomorrow. It was prophesied in Genesis 25 that the elder shall serve the younger. And Edom, you haven't served yet. You haven't served yet. The agreement you made with the Boule and all these others, where they talk about, these black colleges and all that, and funneling money so you can keep your taskmasters in position with your Prince Hall Masons and all that. You thought if you could actually pay a bribe to some of the, what you would call intellects of our community, that would suffice. No, it doesn't work. And they're pulling the plug on you guys too, who drunk of that cup to control the poor. Let's read, Elder Lloyd. Let's go to Revelation 17 now.
Revelation chapter 17, verse number 3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast.
A red-colored beast. We know in Genesis 25, Edom is red. Now, mind you, I made a statement earlier that through our fall, the whole earth got rich. And this is how Esau has this endless coffer to pay his conspirators, to make an agreement to set up businesses and trade and all that with them. Why? It's through the riches they took from us. This red beast consolidated the power, starting with the fall of Jerusalem. Hold that, Elder Lawyer, and get Romans 11:1, and then go to Romans 11:11.
Romans 11, verse 1. I say then, have God cast away his people?
See, because Christians are lying to us. They would make us believe, and Muslims make us believe, that God cast away his chosen people to include everyone else instead of his own. That's utterly ridiculous. So the only people, according to Christianity, is without grace are his chosen people. Have God cast away his people in the Old Testament according to Paul? Read.
God forbid.
God forbid. Read.
For I am also an Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
Come on.
Verse 2. God hath not cast away his people, which he foreknew. Wot ye not what the scripture saith of Elias, how he maketh intercession to God against Israel, saying, Lord, they have killed thy prophets and digged down thine altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life. Jumping down to verse 11.
Go to 11. So that's a lie teaching God's people are done away with. When you teach that, you are a part of the conspiracy. You've drunken the wine of fornication. You're now complicit with the conspiracy of let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. And even Paul says, what do you mean God had done away with his people? And got a new people? What are you talking about? Without his people, there would be no Christianity. There would be no New Testament. What are you talking about? There will be no gospel if it wasn't for his people. It's crazy. And if the pastors are so delusional, they'll sit back and say, it seems like you teach more Israel than salvation. What are you talking about? In John, it tells us that salvation is of the Jews. You can't teach salvation without including his people. What are you talking about? It's not one against the other. They're one and the same. Who needs salvation? The poor who are suffering under the hands and the foot of the beast. So part of helping our people is first to tell them why they're going through this. They're going through this because they're God's people and their forefathers sinned. And if we come back to the God who created that curse, he will now protect us against the enemy. It's like we're disarming our people religiously by not telling them exactly who they are. Now, if I know I'm Israel, I can start doing the research in the Bible and learn from some of my foreparents' mistakes. Or take heed to some of the wisdom that came with those who did right in this Bible. Like our Lord and Savior, like the disciples, like the prophets. But if you tell me it doesn't matter, how am I to get out of this condition? That's what's wrong with these pastors. They're like, it doesn't matter. I teach salvation and love. Okay, salvation and love. Guess what? Your churches are now being commandeered. They're taking everything because there's no one in your church to pay the rent anymore. Okay? So how good? So what good was your compromise telling our people it doesn't matter? But I digress. Romans 11:11. Read it, Elder Lawyer.
Romans 11, verse 11. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall?
That means, have we stumbled that we would be on the bottom forever? Read.
God forbid.
God forbid. Read.
But rather through their fall,
through our fall,
salvation has come unto the Gentiles.
Now, when it says salvation have come to the Gentiles, what is salvation for the Gentiles, one might ask? Finish reading, Elder Lawyer.
Provoke them to jealousy.
To provoke us to jealousy. Read.
Verse 12. Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world.
Now, that was the salvation of the Gentiles. By our fall, the Gentiles received all of the riches that was once ours. Through our fall, all of the Gentiles who would conspire against us in Psalms 83 became rich. Okay, the Vatican and all that was made out of Solomon's temple. The fall of the temple is how the Romans, or Esau, built the Vatican in Rome. So now Esau, through our fall, our big brother, who has yet to fulfill that prophecy of serving his younger brother, consolidated all the wealth of the earth. to pay the Gentiles to conspire against us. See? Read.
12. Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world,
If the fall of them be the riches of the world, the riches, the whole world got rich due to our fall. Read.
diminishing of them the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness?
How much more their fullness? How much more will we receive once the promises of the elect are fulfilled, is what Paul was teaching. Do me a favor, move your mic a little closer to you, because sometimes your first words just cuts out altogether. Right? Now let's go back to Revelation 17. Now we understand in this cup is what? A delusion of lies that they teach through their religions. That's financed by the Romans to keep God's people oppressed. And through that ideology of oppressing our people, what happens? You got it. The other nations can come through and get loans and all that if they keep the oath, to keep us down in our neighborhoods, to keep us oppressed. But once we began to realize we were Israel and no longer viewed them as powerful anymore due to their monetary influence, be it you an Arab, East Indian, or whatever the case is, Esau's like, well, I have no use for y'all anymore. I finance you to go into the neighborhoods and keep them asleep and sell them drugs and opioids and all that, and to destroy them with churches and Islam. That's why I actually allowed y'all to come over to keep the Israelites asleep while we build this tower. Now, if you can't do your job, Gentiles, then there's no need for you. See? And this is why Esau is pulling the plug on the Gentile nations now and is rejecting China and every other thing, because they feel that it's their position to keep their little brother down and asleep. And right up under their noses, we have children everywhere calling on the Most High's name, who will never eat swine, who will never understand how to worship on a Sunday. This next generation will totally denounce Sunday worship altogether. This next generation, and they know it. So what is Esau saying? Well, listen, I gave you contracts, I gave you money, I've done trade with you, and the only thing you had to do was keep my little brother down, and he's rising. So we pulling the plug. The agreement is over. Because the agreement was to do what? To cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. And you people within those ghettos who we sent to divide them failed. You failed. Okay? There's no need for you anymore. We're pulling the plug. Only 10 people can get together at a time now. Have people stand outside around the corner 6 feet apart to order one thing and see how long your business stands. Okay? Come on, let's go. Elder Lawyer.
Revelation 17, verse 3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
That 7 heads represents the 7 hills of Rome. Okay? The 10 horns are the original European powers that make up the power structure of Rome. Okay? I'm going to be going into this in more detail in the academy with our lesson, The 4 Beasts of Daniel. But in a nutshell, here's the original 10. Luxembourg, Denmark, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, Sweden, France, Spain, Great Britain, and Switzerland. These are the original pagan Babylonian 10 horns that would be used by the serpent to do what? Colonize the children of Israel throughout the 4 corners of the earth and introduce that chalice of lies and whoredom and wickedness to our children, which is the modern day Christianity. Okay? They would find us in the remote areas that the Bible said we would get scattered and come with the strong delusion. The Babylonian religion that have always destroyed God's people with Satan at the helm. Not Christ at the helm, but Satan at the helm. In the worship of what? The Trinity. The Trinity is exalting the triune of Babylon. Satan, Semiramis, and Nimrod. You have drunken the wine of fornication, pastors. You've been teaching a strong delusion. But we're here to get it straight. Our big brother came with the lies by colonizing the earth. And when he could no longer stop us from multiplying because we became strong in every area, the Most High began to scatter us. He did what? He sent for his conspirators to level off the population through immigration. Because Esau don't have as many children as us. So anytime he watched the population and we began to multiply, he either start killing us off with eugenics, vaccinations, or funding some type of evil for black on black crime and Hispanic on Hispanic crime or infighting. And while doing so, he get with those pagan temples over in the Middle East with the imams, the pagan temples in East India and all that, and say, send me the greatest of the greatest. Send me the top of your pyramid so that we can keep our people down, and we'll give you the money to set up churches, and we'll give you stores for businesses to oppress them in their neighborhoods. That's the sole purpose for immigration, folks, was to level off the numbers and to keep the conspiracy going, led by the 10 horns. Let's go. Come on.
17, verse 3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
And blasphemy, folks, means what? Lies. Lies. They're ruled through psychology and what? Philosophy. It doesn't have to be true. You just have to be convinced it's true. Okay? You just have to be convinced it's true. So they'll use what? People of what you would call intellect. People of what you would call worldly intellect to deliver the lies.
Assez de cette société qui ne respecte pas les droits.
Recently, France became the 14th country to legalize same-sex marriage. Here in the United States, only 12 states, plus the District of Columbia, allow gay couples to marry. But more and more states are on deck now to change their laws. The social tide among Americans has shifted dramatically. In 1996, a Gallup poll showed that 27% of Americans supported gay marriage. Last year, that number had nearly doubled to 53%. So a lot of people were afraid that this meant that the institution of marriage as we know it would fall apart. Does this mean if gay marriage is legalized in more than 12 states, if it becomes dominant force in the United States, does that mean that the institution of marriage has to be re-examined?
It's going to be enriched.
It's going to be enriched. Ooh, good.
I've never had a straight couple come to me and say, my marriage is in trouble because of the gay couple living next door. To the contrary, I've had people come to me and say, because of the love between Bob and Joe, I have learned how better to love my wife or my husband. We have gay couples in our parish. And
you've married gay couples.
And I've married gay couples, lots of them. And we have lots of kids of gay parents. And they're just part of the woodwork. That's the notable thing that is not notable anymore. But one of my leaders said, where you stand on this issue depends on where you sit on Sunday morning. And what he was saying was he and his wife are sitting next to a gay couple. They're worshiping together, and their marriage is being enriched by this gay couple. So exposure is one of the answers. The more and more we expose to the humanity of the other.
And that's all you need, you know, against the poor, the uneducated, the destitute. Read.
Number 4. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication.
Filthiness of her fornication. And she's so filthy, every religion she sets up, she'll claim that God's law is done away with. Every church she'll set up will be about filthy fornication, molestation, rape, robbery, murder, destruction. And the whole time she's sitting there saying, come to Jesus. Come to Jesus. Have you accepted Jesus as your Lord and Savior? See? It's a serpent, but speaks as a lamb. The whole time with this conspiracy to kill our people all in the neighborhoods, giving out tracts. Come to Jesus. Have you accepted Jesus as your Lord and Savior? See? Filthiness, evil, and wickedness is what all their religions are built upon. And they aim that filthiness and evil and wickedness against our people. Because why? They understand it was through sin and disobedience we fell, and they were able to do what? Consolidate power. So they must teach the filthiness to stay in power. Read. Come on.
5. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth.
And it says Mystery Babylon the Great because this is an entirely different empire. It's not ancient Babylon. So people gonna, in the future, others would be confused concerning this empire. It's not physical Babylon, but it has all the ideologies of ancient Babylon. They picked it up, just called it a different name. They renamed the true Christianity. They took Babylonian worship and witchcraft and sorcery and child sacrifice and rebranded that as modern day Christianity. That's why it's a mystery, because they're using Christ for all this madness. It's a mystery. Well, where's Babylon? Babylon fell a long time ago. No, it didn't, because the ideology was taken from one shore to the next, from one land to the next. Nimrod, born December 25th. The worship of Saturnalia now picked up in Rome. Semiramis, Esther, the goddess, Nimrod's mother, who they claim reared Nimrod incarnate without a father. He came as Tammuz, being worshipped every Sunday by women weeping for Tammuz. A half a century before Christ was born, people were worshiping in these Babylonian temples the same as they're doing in Christian churches today. Okay, that's the original Trinity. And they switched it out and said, let's make a strong delusion. That Christ guy in the New Testament. Let's switch Tammuz and Nimrod out with Jesus. Just say it's Jesus because they can relate to their own people. But we'll just switch him out altogether. The virgin birth and all that, everything of Babylon will keep Just call it Jesus. Okay? Yeah, well, we know the Bible says remember the Sabbath, but we're filthy. We don't care. We're filthy, right? So what we'll do is we'll just forget the Sabbath and make Sunday the Babylonian worship day of rest. The new Sabbath. See? Because eventually these children of Israel are going to start waking up. They're going to try to figure out what day they're supposed to link in with their God, the time in which the heavens are open and he's communicating on the Sabbath. At that time, we're going to have them busy shopping and working and all that so that they don't connect on the most spiritual day in which their God is connecting with them. Right? All that was ancient Babylon, folks. All of it. And then when the Israelites come to us and begin to wake up and start nagging us and start saying stuff like, why is it that the disciples and the prophets and others in the Bible didn't worship this? We'll tell them that, well, what answer always worked? I know, because they're dumb. We'll just tell them it doesn't matter. Even though the Bible doesn't back any of it, I mean, that it doesn't matter thing works with everything. Because they're so dumb, they'll actually, this is what they think of us, folks. They'll read it in the Bible where the Most High punished us for not doing it. And when we begin to ask our teachers and our seers and our prophets why true believers don't follow the Bible, they'll come back with the answer. I mean, this thing is a skeleton key where they don't have to answer us at all. That don't matter. Salvation in Jesus. That's it. Now go your way. Go, slave. Go fill out an application somewhere. Go. Read on.
Chapter 17, verse number 6. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints.
Now, this woman was what, Elder Lawyer?
Drunken with the blood of the saints.
So we know this woman is responsible for killing the prophets, Christ's church, God's people.
Sanger's admiration for the eugenics programs of Nazi Germany were well known at the time. In 1933, the Birth Control Review published Eugenic Sterilization, an Urgent Need, by Ernst Rudin, who was Hitler's director of genetic sterilization and the founder of the Nazi Society for Racial Hygiene. In her praise for the eugenics programs in Germany, Sanger called for the implementation of such programs in the United States, specifically targeting African Americans. The following editorial was published in the 1932 issue of the Birth Control Review.
The Negro problem is one of the most complicated and important confronting America. Whatever the ultimate answer may be, such an attitude brings to light the function of birth control as a necessary agency in its solution. The present submerged condition of the Negro is due in large part to the high fertility of the race under disastrously adverse circumstances. Thus, the question arises, to what extent birth control has had a eugenic effect upon the Negro race?
If any question should remain about Sanger's racist agenda, a 1939 letter she wrote to Dr. Clarence Gamble should remove all doubt.
We should hire 3 or 4 colored ministers, preferably with social service backgrounds and with engaging personalities. The most successful educational approach to the Negro is through a religious appeal. We don't want the word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. And the minister is a man who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members.
Now, what people killed the Jews and the Israelites in the New Testament? The Roman Empire. They're responsible for killing the saints. Now, here's something funny for you. The same people who are responsible for killing Christ, the disciples, and destroying our people in Jerusalem, These are the people that are teaching you about Christ and how to follow Christ the correct way according to their exegesis. The same people that are responsible for killing the prophets are teaching about the prophets.
Et saecula saeculorum. Amen. Diffusa est gratia in labis tuis. Proptere a benedicite Deus in aeterno.
That's why it says Mystery Babylon. They have hid themselves by claiming to be the true Christians. They hid their true intention and mission against us. See? Read on.
6. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yeshua. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration.
He said, when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Why can't no one see that this is the whore of Babylon out to kill God's people? He wondered with great admiration, like we are admiring today how they're using this COVID thing. We're sitting back looking at this thing as like, well, hold up, man. We're not really experiencing those sicknesses or see anyone experiencing this, but they're able to do all this stuff with this campaign like magic. Make everyone stay home. Make everyone fair. That's why John even, he viewed this beast with admiration. The diabolical genius of this wicked, sadistic beast. Read on.
Verse 7. And the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel?
Why are you marveling? Read.
I will tell thee of the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns.
Come on.
The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world.
Now it says, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. Read.
Go into perdition.
And go into perdition. Read.
And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is.
It says, when they behold the beast. Now, this is how you can identify the beast. Who was ruling during John the Revelator's time? The Roman Empire. So when you look at this beast, it says, the beast that was Babylon. That's the religion, Babylon. And the beast that was and is not. Why isn't it? Because it's not the physical Babylon. And yet is. What was existing during John the Revelator's time? Rome. That's why it says Mystery Babylon. The beast that was. They took all of the religion and wickedness and witchcraft from Babylon and morphed it into a new religion that's enforced through a greater power of the force beast. And yet is. It's Babylon. But yet, it's a Edomite ruled Babylon. A mystery. See? Babylon was, it fell. and is not because it fell, but yet is. So who took the religion of Babylon and enhanced it? Rome. And those who are participating with that chalice will not be written in the book of life. These are they who are to be judged upon Christ's second coming. Listen to me now. And this is why when we mention that America is Babylon, came out of Rome, they'll be like, well, hold up, that ain't that. America's written nowhere in the Bible. Of course, because it's part of the beast that was and is not, but yet is. It's not called America. So you have to identify the prophecies according to what was shown to John. Because during John's time, America wasn't founded yet. So you will never see a place that say America in the Bible. But I can show you what America was made out of. 3 of the 10 horns. Huh? What? Let's go, other lawyer.
Number 9. And here is the mind that have wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth.
It says the 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. Rome is made, it was called the land of 7 hills. Look it up. So we're breaking down the mystery for you. Now from this whore where the 7 hills come was created the new modern day Christianity, which is the strong delusion Paul was talking about. Read.
10. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and one is, and the other is not yet come.
And the other is not yet come. Read.
When he cometh, he must continue a short space.
And when he cometh, he must what?
Continue a short space.
Continue a short space. So there was one to come out of that 10. You'll never guess who that was. Who is? Babylon, America, that was made out of what? France, Spain, and Great Britain. When you look at all the African colonies, they were colonized by one of these 10 horns. When you look at in South America, they were colonized by who? The Spaniards, part of the 10 horns. Levi was taken down by the French, part of the 10 horns. We, the black Americans, Judah was taken down by Great Britain, one of the 10 horns.
The sale itself would happen either on board the ship or a warehouse nearby.
Let the scramble commence.
Slaves would be inspected by prospective buyers who would poke and prod and open their mouths and all these things to try to assess the physical capacity of the slave.
So America is that one which would continue a short space. Made out of the 10 horns, made out of 3 of the 10 horns, according to the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter. Read.
Number 11. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7.
And is of the 7, read.
And goeth into perdition.
And goeth into perdition. That's an imminent destruction. An imminent destruction will happen. Because why? America was made for a specific purpose, to build that tower, using the children of Israel at the base as slaves to build it. But once they have actually implemented the New World Order throughout the earth, and now they have set up their bases all over the earth and colonized the earth under one power, America has now become expendable. See? And this is what your pastors aren't telling you, because their hope has always been in Babylon. Babylon was always expendable. And this is why the EU, the 10 horns, have separated themselves from all the other nations just a year ago, and make it where only certain people can travel into where they are. They've already separated themselves. And now they're pulling the plug on the earth. I'm going to read it. They will rule from where? You got it. The EU and Europe. Okay? It's already started, folks. It's already started. They are controlling FEMA. They are controlling NATO. It's them. America now has, matter of fact, not now, it has always been controlled from overseas. Always. I don't know, they teach it, the lie in school, 1776, the Boston Tea Party. They revolt against the Queen and the King, and now they were able to become independent. That was all a lie, folks. There was not a time that America wasn't ruled by Rome. Okay? Let's read it.
12. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet.
So now the 10, Luxembourg, Denmark, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, Sweden, France, Spain, Great Britain, and Switzerland, they haven't received the kingdom as of yet. See? Because why? America took all the shine. America gained all the glory. America gained all the glory. It became the beacon of light and hope throughout all of the earth. Why? Because it was a country made out of all nations. But being made out of all nations, it was a country that was also built with who? Built off of the 12 tribes of Israel, who's now together within that nation, calling on their God. So by default, when we begin to call on the Almighty against the kingdom that have always destroyed us, he would eventually do what? Hear the prayers and calling of the poor and begin to destroy the foundation of Babylon, their religion. And he did it through Israelites, folks, teaching this Bible. See? He did it through Israelites, not just black people, Hispanics, North American Indians. We began to pray to our God all together in this land. And the Most High began to hear it. And guess what? The prophecies of its fall has now become imminent. Listen what I'm showing you now. Read.
12. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast.
So they will spend what? They'll have power as kings 1 hour with the beast. And that's breaking down, folks, the last Jubilee, literally, of the earth. Drumming up to the last 7 years, Europe will have full rulership of the earth. That's why America is in the state it's in right now. And this is why the plug has been pulled. There's no need for her anymore. They were able to use us in their armies, station us all over the earth with all of our power, ingenuity, intellect, and strength. And they made it where they used us, the children of Israel, and Edom and the other nations in America to set bases all over the earth to take down the other nations under one world order through the military. See? And now that they have consolidated power, they did a test run with COVID, folks, to see now whether or not that power that was consolidated was taken. They wanted to see how much of that power or their implementation took on the civilians of every country they have taken over and commandeered. This was the run. And they have achieved it, folks. Where they can just say anything and the whole earth is lockstep under the beast at one time. None like it was at any time on earth. It was never like this, folks. There was only one time that it was similarly close. When all the nations were at the Tower of Babel with one language and one speech, building a tower into heaven to fight against our God under Nimrod. That's the last time this earth was so united under one speech. And now it's under one speech again by the 10 horns. Because they can say COVID-19 with one word and it would transcend all languages and have everyone lockstep together under one agenda. The earth now is under one speech. But they had to take down one country at a time and take it over first and colonize it and reprogram the generations to accept the power of the beast, who has always been who? Satan, to worship that beast. But he had to consolidate this by having the whole earth under one mindset, using America as that image that all the world's population would aspire to be like. Now they've accomplished that. There's no need for her. And they're pulling the plug. The 10 horns. This is where you and I are presently. We're presently in this prophecy as I speak. Right now. Read on, Elder Lawyer. Come on.
Verse number 13. These have one mind.
These has one mind. Hold up, one speech. When you get a chance, go to Genesis 11. One speech. They're in one mind. And don't forget, their mind is to conspire against us also. God's people. The promised people. The children of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. The people whom Christ came to die on the cross and shed his blood for our sins. And through that blood, an opportunity at that promise. An unfulfilled promise at that. But if we do the right thing and follow the commandments, and more so, fear the Most High, and put our nose in this book and study this book and walk according to the commandments, folks, our children will see this promise. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's already written. The same way the fall of Babylon has been written, the rise of Jacob also has been written. See? So people ask, what we do? What can we do? What's going on? We're going to show you what you can do, folks. But first you have to understand, according to prophecy, where you are. First. And your responsibility now knowing that you are a child of Israel. Right? Come on.
14. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them.
Now, so it tells us that it's Europe. The 10 horns, led by Rome and the 10 horns, it's they who will fight the Lamb. They will go to war with Christ. Not America, folks. It's Esau's empire, the 10 horns, who will go to war against Christ. So NASA, their so-called military apparatus, their space stations, turning CERN on with their antimatter weapons, 5G, and all the other things they've created. It's really, folks, for this war, this impending war that they've always tried to wage against the heavens. And the heavens are now, folks, coming into our realm. Okay? The heavens are coming into our realm, folks, and they know it. So they're preparing for the war of Armageddon, the spiritual war of realms. Okay? America is expendable. They used America to consolidate power and to take over all the countries that oppose the ideologies of Rome. America has used up its usefulness. Now all that power that was consolidated through America now will be used now to unite the earth under one mind under Lucifer to fight against Christ, led by Rome. They have always been Satanists, folks. They have never been Christians. Wake up. Verse
number 14. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is the Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. Verse 15.
And guess what? It's speaking of our Lord and Savior, folks. And you know, it's going to shock the world. It's not going to shock the Pope and them, because they know that Christ is not coming back looking like Tom Cruise, folks. We are the image of God. It may shock the world, but it won't shock the Pope. Because till this day, the Pope is worshiping a black Madonna. Okay? Christ is coming back, folks. And he's not looking, he's not going to look like John Travolta, folks. And this is why they war with us. Because they're warring with the image of God. The image of his son, Christ, Judah, who through his blood will now bring forth the kingdom and raise Judah out of the ashes to help lead and guide his people. See? When they see us, they see Christ. And this is why they hate us. Because that's the power, our Christ, who will judge their God, Lucifer. Come on, let's go.
15. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues.
Come on, what verse?
Going into verse 16.
Come on.
Verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore and shall...
Hold up, lawyer. Hold up now. There's a lot of meat in this. We're going to take our time. We're going to marinate on this, right? And the beast, these shall do what?
This verse number 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore.
These shall hate the whore, folks. So this is why the 10 horns, Europe, has now politically separated themselves from America. You notice how they blame everything on America as if their hands aren't dirty? It's America that's behind this agenda and setting up this stuff, this COVID-19. It's America that's behind the dam that's being built that will dry up the Nile in Egypt. You notice how they are allowing the press to blame America for everything? You notice that? This is the PR campaign that was shown to John, in which they would begin to hate the whore and allow America to be viewed in a negative light internationally. And there's no greater person for them to do that with than Donald Trump. See? So even the EU, Shapat brought stories where even the EU is speaking against America now. They will hate the whore, and through that legislation will allow this war to go down, because who you don't hear in the midst of all this, folks? You notice you don't hear nothing about the state of Israel? And Israel is a key component in all of this. Okay? Israel was set up through the 10 horns. The state of Israel right now, but you don't hear nothing. They're like a church mouse right now. You don't hear anything politically about them, do you? Because everything is being blamed on America. And when Israel strike Iran, the whole blame is going to be on America, who came in to help their ally in the Middle East. The blame is not going to be on Israel, folks. It's going to be on America on purpose. And the Bible tells us that through this negative campaign that the EU is allowing, the whole earth will hate America, and eventually it will go down in flames, according to prophecy, so that the 10 horns can have their kingdom or their power in the last 7 years with Satan. They feel America has always took their shine, took their glory. They came before America, but yet America is more popular than Luxembourg, Denmark, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, Sweden, France, Spain, Great Britain, Switzerland. All of them look to America as the beacon and image for the beast. It's like, well, hold up. America was made out of us. It's a new empire. They only stood a short space. How is it that they're getting all the notoriety and we made them? We came up with the ideas on how to conquer the North American Indians, on how to have the slaves build our economy for free. All of that ingenuity and technology and understanding came from us, but yet America's getting all the glory? Burn her with fire. She made America, and she will burn America. It's her legislation that's going to cause this to happen, because they're going to provoke the war with Iran, and Iran is going to strike. But it's really the ideology that came from the 10 horns that's going to lead to this. Okay? Check this out now. We're not leaving anything on the table today. Anything on the table. Because all those who were complicit with the whore, your judgment is here. You knew you were ruling over God's people in the neighborhoods. You were bringing the drugs into our neighborhoods. You've been destroying our people. And God didn't forget that agreement you made in Psalms 83 to cut us off from being a nation. So don't think you get off scot-free. Because you're feeling it right now in your pockets, aren't you? And we're not feeling it that much. Why? Because we understand what it means to struggle. We've always been poor. We've always been the one waiting for handouts. So right now to our people, this is kind of normal. Welcome to reality, you Gentile nations who has always conspired against God's people. Because all the riches that were taken through our fall is being taken from you and consolidated. And eventually, our Lord and Savior is going to bring that power back to his people. And I'm going to read it. You merchants of the earth, you're shaking in your boots right now, and you're just waiting for the time in which America will go back to the way it was, aren't you? You Gentile conspirators, you better read this book. Okay? You took a bribe from the wrong team. You better read this book. If you don't know what's about to happen when these doors open from this quote-unquote quarantine, which is utterly ridiculous. Quarantine is something that's labeled for sick people. You got full-grown healthy people in the house talking about they quarantine. But I digress. If you don't know what's going to happen to you merchants and others who have always traded with America, you are about to get it. Not thus saith the White House or the Capitol. Thus saith the Almighty out of this Bible. Okay? Because I'm going to tell you, you Gentiles have been double crossed. I'm speaking of you East Indians who took the bag against our people. You Arabs who took the bag against our people and came over here and thought you were better than us. Our big brother Edom has double crossed you. He's snatching it all. He never intended to share anything with you. He just needed you to conspire against us. But you're useless now. You're useless. They gave you all this money and property and grants and have your children go to college and become doctors and all that. And we still found out that we are the children of Israel. They paid you to compromise us, and the Most High still shined a light through to awaken us. You've been played. You Gentile nations, you've been played. Esau never intended on sharing this world with you. You think when Christ come back, he's gonna set up where China have their empire? And this country over here have their empire? And you have a governor here and a president there? There'll be one president. And he's gonna go by the name of Yeshua, a black man. The president of the universe is coming. So Esau never intended on setting something up where you can have a Chinese president and a president over here and a president over there. That wasn't the plan. Esau wants the promises of Abraham, folks. Okay? He wants total power. He wants the promises that was given to our father Abraham, where all the Gentile nations would serve the promised children of Abraham. That's what Esau is out for. He's not out for no alliance. He just needed you. He played you against us. You Gentile nations have been played by Esau. Okay? China thought they had it going on, boy. Man, we own all the debt of America now. There's no way that America can pull the plug on us. No way. We own America. We bought everything. Don't you know they allow you to do that realizing they were about to pull the plug on America? Don't you know that? And through one claim of a virus in some remote area in Wuhan, they have made China now obsolete in the political arena now. They made it where every shore of the world are thinking twice about taking Chinese products. Just like that. Double cross you. Use you for all that labor, free labor. You even killing your own people in sweatshops to make all this stuff for Walmart and so that America can drive big cars and all that. And you sacrifice your own people for the glory of Babylon, sipping that cup. And with one event, no one wants to trade with China. You even got Trump now saying, oh yeah, that's the Chinese virus, by the way. You better watch them ships coming into your port. It may have COVID, wink, wink. Just like that, snatch the power from China. The 10 horns, folks. Just like that. China will never be the same. And you know, Trump's like, well, you know, we really, even when they were when the election was coming of the lawyer, when the election was out there, he was like, no, don't worry about it. I don't know if y'all remember this when Trump says, China, I'll handle China. Don't worry about China. I'll handle China. Remember that? What's going on now? Double crossed. See? Ham, Shem, and Japheth in Psalms 83 agreed to cut us off from being a people. Agreed to keep us in perpetual servitude and made an agreement with Esau. And Esau was like, okay, I'll use you for a time. But as soon as my brother Jacob began to awaken and no longer hear the mess we've been teaching, I'm going to blame you all for not doing your job and keeping him down. And through that, I'm going to take my cup back. Now you have to fend for yourself. See? Read on. Come on, Elder Lawyer.
Chapter 17, verse 16.
Come on.
In the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore.
These shall what?
These shall hate the whore.
These shall hate the whore.
And shall make her desolate.
And make her desolate. That's the future of America now. So don't believe things are going to go back to the way they were, folks. America have actually been broken down into colonies right up under your nose without them telling you. When you hear nothing but the governor speaking, America has already been broken down where each state has their own president. It's been broken down into colonies already. It will never go back to the way it was. Read.
Naked, and shall eat her flesh.
And shall eat her flesh.
And burn her with fire.
And what?
And burn her with fire.
That's the future of Babylon. But then, what happens next? Because of all this, right? Read.
17. For God hath put it in their hearts to fulfill his will.
So the Most High have put it in their hearts, folks, to do this. Because if it wasn't for this happening, our people would stay servants forever. See? Because we don't think nothing is wrong with living in a foreign land serving other people and we think it's okay just to have a job. So the Most High was like, you know what? These people love captivity. Let me just take America away and give Israel and the whole earth a rude awakening. Because without America, there is no more hope for this world. America was the hope of this world, folks. And the Most High have to take and snatch that hope so that we can look for something better. We should have been looking for something better or greater. But since there's so many of us, a large majority of us are only dealing with the hope of this world, the Most High have to snatch this rug up from under you. So he had to do it. So he put it in their heart to do this. Because it's our spirit, our ingenuity, our hard work, sweat and tears and blood that's still holding this place up. We've always hoped and trusted in the empires that have enslaved us. The Most High says, I'm going to make it where the only hope of God's people will be on me now. You want to make it now? You want to aspire for a kingdom? You're going to have to work for the kingdom to come because Babylon has fallen. Now what? Israel, the children of Israel, you actually have to do something now. You actually have to do something. And I know you're temporarily celebrating a stimulus check. I know that. It's just to keep you still for a moment because our people started waking up and saying, well, hold up, man. We built this country and for years nothing has been done for us. We want reparations. And the enemy, you know, the people looking at, they want reparations. Let's give them a stimulus check, you know, during the time that we're calling them COVID-19 and putting them down like dogs. There go your reparations. There you go. When you start asking for something for self-empowerment, they'll respond with an answer. Because if they give these people, our people, reparations and finances, and we come together with that money, their empire is finished. They can never do that. The empire was built off that conspiracy to keep us at the floor of all empires that are ruling in the earth today. It's built off us being the floor. We're the bottom of every empire. So they would never give you money without a price. They're getting restless right now. They don't like being in their homes. Send them a check. Now, mind you, money means nothing to these people, folks. They just trying to keep people settled while they put the apparatus, put the total program in place that will totally implode this country. It's coming. I'll go into that next week, but read Revelation. Read the 18th verse, Elder Lawyer. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
17
Revelation
and 18. Go ahead.
Revelation 17, verse 18. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth.
And that woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. America. It have to go down so that the 10 horns can gain power 1 hour with the beast. That's prophecy, folks. That's prophecy. Now let's go to Revelation 18 and 1 and let's read this through and prep for tomorrow. Let's go.
Revelation 18, verse 1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lighted with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen.
Saying what?
Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen.
Come on.
And has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
Now, if you want to know what it's talking about, it's speaking of witchcraft, sorcery, occult, Satanist, witchcraft, molestation, Moloch, child sacrificing, people running around looking like demons, tats from their heads to their toes. Women, you don't know whether or not they women or men.
In America, maybe you heard of that.
It's been said that this tattoo-adorned pastor is trying to reinvent the idea of church. She would argue that she has simply rediscovered it.
So much of spirituality is about sort of sanding ourselves down, smoothing ourselves out so that we're nice and shiny. But the fact is that I think the jagged edges of our humanity are what actually connect us to God and to one another.
Her church in Denver is called the House for All Sinners and Saints. Like its pastor, this is not a typical congregation. Take Stuart Sanks. He was one of the earliest members, a drag queen known here as the Minister of Fabulousness.
I don't have to check any piece of myself at the door. I can bring all of me, my wild socks and shoes and funny t-shirts and earrings and whatever. I can bring all that stuff with me. Just like people can bring their questions and their doubt and their unbelief.
Stuart left his old church because he felt marginalized by the members.
They want to be seen as accepting. So they're like, we'll love anyone who comes to us. But then someone who's magnificent like Stuart shows up and he's like, hey, I might want to help run the kids program.
If everyone would please rise for the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Vice Mayor Scott Maxwell. Duly noted. Our collective atheism, which is to say loving empathy, scientific evidence, and critical thinking, leads us to believe that we can create a better, more equal community without religious divisions. May we pray together. Mother Earth, we gather today in your redeeming and glorious presence to invoke your eternal guidance in the universe, the original creator of all things. May the efforts of this council blend the righteousness of Allah with the all-knowing wisdom of Satan. May Zeus, the great god of justice, grant us strength tonight. Jesus might forgive our shortcomings, while Buddha enlightens us through his divine affection. We praise you, Krishna, for the sanguine sacrifice that freed us all. After all, if Almighty Thor is with us, who can ever be against us? And finally, for the bounty of logic, reason, and science, we simply thank the atheists, agnostics, humanists, who now account for 1 in 5 Americans, and growing rapidly. In closing, Let us, above all, love one another, not to obtain mythical rewards for ourselves now, hereafter, or based on superstitious threats of eternal damnation, but rather embrace secular-based principles of morality and do good for goodness sake. And so we prayed, so what? Thank you, Council.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Men, you don't know whether or not, put it in a nutshell. It exemplifies or highlights, what highlights this is what you see walking into a Starbucks. I'm like, where did they get these people that are working in Starbucks? Did they, are they submitting applications in hell to get employees to work at Starbucks? Where are they getting these people, folks? Black lipstick and just some weird, like demons with clothes on. Let me tell you, America have become what you witness and what we see in Starbucks. The cage of every wild, I mean, it's like, what's going on with these people? And I'm looking around and everybody's just on their computers and sitting there. The music is playing. Let me get a latte chilled with cream. And I'm looking around every time I go into Starbucks. I'm like, you don't see these people. These people look like they just crawled out of hell. And you talking about you want a latte with extra cream. And to the point where no one have recognized that the occult world has actually taken over. Right in front of you, the occult world. Some child sacrificing demon is steaming your milk. It's like, I'm looking around, I'm like, nobody noticed this weird zone up in here? Black lipstick and a tat going up. One dude had a all-seeing eye tat to his head. He had 3 eyes. Talking about, what would you like today? I'm like, dude, I'm out of here, man. I'm out. And I'm so glad that it's drive-through right now. It's like, yo, what happened to the people? What have we accepted here? This place has been the cage of every wild and strange demon. It's what we've allowed here. The occult world has now taken what? Full power and presence of America. There's no wholesome and righteousness spirit in America anymore. Have you noticed that? Come on, let's go.
16, verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
Read.
For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
And it's talking about all nations, because when you go in these places, you don't just see black people and white people looking weird like they just crawled out of hell. I'm seeing East Indians, people who used to have some level of dignity and what you would call some level of virtue. They would dress a certain type of way. They would exemplify the spirit of femininity. I'm seeing even Chinese guys. I remember Chinese guys used to be honored, shamefaced. I mean, what have Babylon done to people? Everyone look like they're binging on something now. It doesn't matter what race you are. That's what America has done, folks. Everyone looks like they're binging, on some opioid or have been. It's like everyone. All the nations that conspired now, it looks like all of them were sipping syrup, folks. All of them in America right now. And the Most High is like, listen, I got to get my people up out of this place. I'm ready to pull the plug. Let's go now.
3. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
Come on.
And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies.
So all of the other nations have become rich with that conspiracy we read in Psalms 83. They have decked themselves in purple. They have set themselves up on some regal parch. But the Most High is about to pull the plug. Check it out. Read it.
4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying.
Another voice from heaven saying what?
Come out of her, my people.
Come out of her, my people. Because if you think this is just starting with you being separated 6 feet apart, you don't know what that's about. You don't know what that's about. Okay. You don't understand when a military scenario have been placed right before your eyes. Okay. You don't understand what's going on here. Come out of her, my people. Read.
Out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins.
That ye be not partaker of her sins. Now, of course, it's talking about spiritually coming out of her. That's why I'm glad the Most High freed me from the satanic wine, whore, religion, Babylon of Christianity. So you first have to break that psychosis of believing that people who raped, robbed, murdered, killed, and destroyed can deliver you the good news of Jesus. First, you have to come out of that delusion. Okay, because nothing like that is taught in the Bible where the unrighteous can teach the righteous, can teach what's righteous. A leopard can't change his spots. So first of all, we had to come out of that delusion. The delusion of our colonizers who sold us a bill of goods, who sold us some wicked, evil, delusional doctrine called Christianity. Okay. Read.
Out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins.
That ye be not partaker of her sins.
And that ye receive not of her plagues.
That ye receive not of her plagues. Because guess what? It's going to take a physical leaving also. That's why as part of this particular operation they're calling COVID, they're now trying or looking to control who can travel or who can't travel. Now, will they stop travel altogether? Not almost immediately. Not almost immediately. They will open it up for travel. But these travels will be with serious restrictions. Okay? So an opportunity will come for people to leave. It will come. And it's going to come through all types of scenarios. Even after this thing breaks down. Opportunity will arise, folks. Even after this stuff break down, because a lot of people in the military, a lot of people that's in law enforcement, a lot of people who now see what this is aren't going to go for this fully like the powers that be believe they will. Okay, there will be some resistance. And during that time, the Most High with his angels are going to be given directions of how to get the righteous out of harm's way. The angels are amongst us, folks. You just can't see them. But the angels of presence are here. They're with us. You don't have to fear anything. It's our God that prophesied this would go down. You just have to be in the spirit, doing what's right to be led by the angels at that time. Okay? And this is what we're working towards during this 7 Sabbath interval from the Passover going up to first fruits. That this church is in one mind, one spirit, so that when we're together, the angels are in the midst guiding us through this. It's going to be the spirit that get us through this. Okay? So when the opportunity comes, the angels will make a way. You just have to be in the spirit to know when that opportunity is before us. We will. See? Come on.
The rest of verse 4. Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Verse 5. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God have remembered her iniquities.
Come on.
Verse 6. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works.
Come on.
And the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. Verse 7.
So the things she's always done against God's people, the Bible tells us that the judgment according to God is double. They've treated us bad, man. They've treated us bad. Reward her double. So those that have always grandized themselves off of God's people, have taken advantage of us over and over again, guess what? You're next. After this happens, the other nations are going to fall like dominoes, folks. You're going to find, and I'm going to tell you this, they're not going to easily do in Africa what they're planning to do. I'm going to tell you that right now. Because it tells us that eventually a highway, 7 streams will be made from these different areas in Ethiopia and all that, in which our people would begin to go into those same areas of Mount Sinai, right on the outside of Saudi Arabia. People talking about, well, why Africa can't come together. Watch when they start killing our people exponentially over there. Watch how that remnant of Africa come together. Watch. It tells us in the Dead Sea Scrolls that he will plant Judah, Benjamin, and Levi in the deserts to war against Edom during the time of Armageddon. That's in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Oh, you thought we didn't read that, huh? So we're going to make it. You want to see Africa come together? Well, it first starts with the destruction of churches and not allowing people to come together, because now they're forced to sit back, recalculate, recalibrate, and listen to truth, which is setting God's people free everywhere. And this is not just the might of the Africans and black people. It's not through physical might we get through this. We will get through with a spiritual intervention. And no longer will it be said that God, the Lord liveth, that delivered Israel out of the hand of Pharaoh or Egypt. But the Lord liveth, who delivered his people everywhere from the four corners of the earth. This is not just a physical intervention, folks. The Spirit of the Lord will be before us. And at that time, the whole world will know that we were the people. Let me tell you, if you were born in this time, folks, you were made for this moment. Don't let the enemy try to use fear. He's going to try to use fear to have that overshadow the prophecies of that really shows forth our freedom. If you're listening to this, you were born for this moment. Okay? Finish reading.
7. How much she have glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she hath said in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow.
So for years, America got away Okay, for years. And she thought within her mind, nothing will happen here. Of course, we've witnessed through television the downfall of Iraq being torn down into a third world country almost. We've witnessed over here in America the fall of Libya, which was one time the beacon of all Africa, torn down to almost nothing. And what we thought, or what Americans thought in particular, that none of that can ever happen here on American soil. You didn't read this Bible. Read that last piece again, Elder Lawyer.
Verse 7. How much she have glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her.
Come on.
For she have said in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow.
No widow means she doesn't have to worry about her children being lost through war on American soil. This is what they've actually programmed Americans to believe. That what has happened throughout all of the earth can no wise happen here in America. But when you begin to compromise the integrity of your country and its morality, destruction becomes imminent. When you allow children to be molested and harmed, when you allow those who have always worked against God's people, speaking of the letter people, to adopt children and to molest children, common sense will tell you eventually, when you allow pedophiles the right to adopt children and all that, common sense would tell you that the Most High would bring the judgment that rained down on Sodom and Gomorrah. So the Most High have to make this place an example. Go on, Elder Lawyer.
8. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire.
Come on. She will be what?
And she shall be utterly burnt with fire.
Behind the PR campaign to have her burnt with fire. The 10 horns. It was spoken of that in Revelation 17. See? Read.
Rest of verse 8. For strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. Verse 9. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her.
Lived deliciously, drunk that cup, set up stop and goes, set up liquor stores in our community, set up hair shops in our community, got all the loans that really belong to us, set up temples of worship to your satanic gods in our communities. You've lived deliciously off of us, right? Drinking that cup, that conspiracy of Psalms 83. What happens to you now? Read.
I'll bewail her.
They will do what?
Shall bewail her.
The merchants of the earth and all those that conspired against us will begin to cry for Babylon or America like they're doing now. What to do with my business? What to do with my business? My great-great-grandmother came over here and set up this business. I was an immigrant and I was doing fine. What to do with my business? Tell me the Bible isn't on point, folks. Tell me the Bible isn't on point. Everyone is complaining now about their business. When their business began with a conspiracy against God's people. You built your business on us. Okay? Now everyone's crying now. And I'm not going to be out all on these streets protesting and all that crap, talking about give me Babylon back.
These protesters were not interested in social distancing.
I'm not going to sit here and hope that one day things go back to the way it used to be.
Here, many are openly dismissive of the science.
Let the prophecies unfold, folks.
At the economic cost that they are paying.
Let the Most High's will be done. You just have to be ready.
Destroyed my career.
In the midst of
I had
it.
a good paying career, paying my bills, earning
Finish
good
reading.
money. Now I'm subject to trying to find a job for $20 an hour because I...
Verse number 9. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning.
Come on.
Verse 10. Standing afar off from the fear or for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come.
In 1 hour has our judgment come. One day you're going to hear those talking heads make an announcement, and guess what, folks? It isn't going to be a test.
Everybody get down!
In 1 hour, this place, if you think this place can't be judged in 1 hour, look what they've done with COVID. Now, they did that without a standing army or no military force at all, folks. They've already shut down all the merchants of the earth without physical warfare.
Horrifying new development today.
They didn't have to enforce this through physical warfare at all, folks. Think about that for a moment.
All infected Americans are being forced into quarantine camps.
Think about that.
Pandemic is a word that, if misused, can cause unreasonable fear or unjustified acceptance that the fight is over, leading to unnecessary suffering and death.
Life pretty much froze after this day.
There are new COVID-19 cases in North Texas.
And it is spreading fast.
Declaring a state disaster.
Fort Worth Mayor Betsy Price is expected to announce a stay-at-home order.
Dallas County will move to a safer-at-home order.
Our world turned upside down, forcing us to change our ways, forcing us to be by ourselves and focus on our health, because we had nowhere to be. What if I told you that in the city, the streets were empty? Would you believe me? What if I told you schools shut down and businesses closed too? Even stadiums weren't rocking like they used to. Would you believe me? We hear words like
isolation,
social distancing,
the lockdown,
to wash our hands since they can harm us, to keep 6 feet, we don't know who to trust. The fear turns into greed, so we take more than we need. But we're all in this together. We're all connected, all equally affected. The only question left is, how do we move forward? Will our world change or remain the same? What is the new normal?
But he says in 1 hour, this thing going to be judged. Now, I can't sweat that. The Most High want it. I want it. Okay. God's people want it. Because the world has become proud and have forgotten the God of Israel. You have forgotten the God who made us. You have forgotten the sacrifice of his son that was shed on the blood for the remission of our sins. You have forgotten God. You've forgotten him. You become proud. You start to believe that everything you've acquired is due to just how intelligent you are. without giving any glory to the God who made us and thanking him for any blessings we were able to experience in this lifetime. You have forgotten him. See? So in return, read.
Number 10, standing far off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come.
11.
Verse 11, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth her merchandise anymore.
Now check this out. You being double-crossed, folks. So all you people who were in line with the Roman Empire to enslave us, guess what? All your businesses now will dry up. And guess what? Rome is going to take what you have too. Because in this compromise of drinking that cup, you've also allowed them to set up a financial system in which you are in agreement with, in which your financial system within any empire cannot thrive without who? The 10 horns banks. See? Oh, you thought you just get off and just do your own thing? Well, Gaddafi was thinking about making his own currency outside of the monetary structure. And Saddam Hussein had that plan too. And guess what happened? They're pushing daisies. See, when you made that agreement against in Psalms 83, Esau's not going to just let you off like that. You must tie yourself financially to their system. But the problem here is it's their system. It's their monetary structure that have made you great. So even after Babylon fall, they will control your citizens 1 hour with the beast through their financial system that's in place. Because you don't have a financial system. It's theirs. So Esau is going to make all you Gentile nations their slaves. Okay? That's what we're seeing here. You will be at the behest of the beast. Now you know, now you're going to know how we've felt all these years. See? You've been double-crossed. All you merchants. With all these lofty plans on building new buildings. Yeah, I got a new spaghetti shop I'm setting up, New Italy, and yeah, I'm gonna have me a new falafel shop. I'm gonna come over from the Middle East and set me up a shawarma shop with all the East Indian herbs and all that. Had all these lofty plans. And Esau the whole time was giving you loans, knowing that he's gonna pull the plug in a year. Oh yeah, come on, sign the paperwork. Well, what about my down payment? I put my down payment down on this business. Don't worry about it. We're going to show you how you can actually acquire that money once you and your children are chipped, okay? You're now a servant to the beast. Esau rules 1 hour with the beast and shut up, okay? That's what they're going to tell you. Shut up. Okay? You're useless. We tried to have you work against our brother. Our brother done called on his God, and now time is sped up. We have less time now. Shut up and get ruled by the beast now. Get ruled by Satan. Bow down. Now the merchants of the earth are crying about their businesses now. When all the businesses that you have over in America was built off of slave labor, we got nothing. And yet now you crying? Now you crying? We didn't get anything. But we're about to get everything. See? We are about to get everything. This is the patience of the saints here. See? We're going to let y'all Gentiles just fight it out. Just go ahead and duke it out between y'all two. And then a black foot is going to come down and crush it all anyway. Okay? We sacrificed long enough. We've been enslaved long enough. Anything that leads to freedom, you know, we have no recourse. We must actually agree with, even though it's like ripping off the Band-Aid right now, folks, we have to go with it. Anything that will lead to something better than this, I'm down. Okay? Finish reading.
12. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and thyine wood and all manner of vessels of ivory and all manner vessels of precious wood and of brass and iron and marble and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beast and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men.
And what? And how? And what of men?
And slaves and souls of men.
So they're going to be crying the fact that they've lost their slaves in America. The slaves they've always harmed in captivity. They're going to be crying because not just all of the business they're losing. What about that control we had over these people in the neighborhoods? We've lost our slaves, our employees. See? So while the Gentiles are crying, the Most High is now setting the children of Israel. While the nations are crying, he's setting us free. Okay? And of course, during this transition, which is a very uncomfortable moment, why? Because we never knew what life would be, you know, after or during the fall of Babylon. So it's an uncomfortable feeling for everyone. But eventually, when we step our foot outside of captivity and realize there's still life, something going to kick in that have never kicked in before. That the majority of the time when it comes to our captivity, we're going to realize we've been the one keeping ourselves under it. Once we stick our feet out a little bit and realize, well, hold up, I thought it was going to be worse than this. I mean, I'm still living. I still can, you know, do things on my own and try to make things work. That's what freedom looks like, folks. But the Most High must pull this comfortable environment up from under us first. And that's what you are experiencing right now. See? Read.
14.
Well, almost done. Come on.
Revelation 18, verse 14. And the fruits that thy soul lusteth after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all.
Thou shalt find them no more at all. What we're reading is the double crossing of the Gentiles, the immigrants and others who came to America to aggrandize themselves on the people who've actually built America. They're going to be crying the most and suffering the most. They're crying now. Oh my God, what of my business? Read on, Elder Lawyer.
Verse number 15. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for fear of her torment, weeping and wailing. Verse 16. And saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught.
In 1 hour, all the great glory of America will be brought to nothing. You think this COVID thing is something? Read.
The shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stand afar off, and cried, or stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city?
They're going to look back and say, what place in history was ever like America? They're going to sit back because without America, where's the hope for the world now? America was that one beacon of light, of freedom, that other countries could aspire to be like or come into and take full advantage of its dainties, its slaves, its resources, its talent. Read on, Elder Lawyer.
Number 19. And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea, by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate.
In 1 hour will she be made desolate, according to the Almighty. Read.
20. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her.
Come on.
Verse 21.
Hold on. So now it's talking about those who suffered under the hand of the Roman Empire. Those who were killed and murdered by the Roman Empire and the other nations. So are they crying in heaven right now? During this? No, the merchants are crying. But in heaven, what's going on? Let's read this again.
20. Rejoice over her.
Rejoice over her.
Thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and
ye
prophets.
holy apostles and prophets. That means the righteous should be rejoicing right now. What are you crying for? Is your hope in Babylon, or do you really believe that something is greater is on the horizon? Do you have enough faith to understand whatever you have now pales in comparison to what we'll receive when Christ returns? This is where faith kicks in at. Do you believe that the Most High is going to give you more, or do you believe that you're losing something by losing Babylon? Because that shows where your heart is. Because the holy prophets, the holy apostles who were martyred, is rejoicing this moment. Because it's only going to take a little time before recompense, before judgment, before the promises of Abraham are fulfilled and our people are restored as the chosen people of God. Think about that. Read on. Only got a few more verses left.
20. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. Verse 21. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of harpers and musicians, and of pipers and trumpeters, shall be heard no more at all in thee.
Because what was America known for? The arts, the music, the great musicians. Okay. America has always set the standard, speaking of our people, of artistry and music since the beginning of time. But America, what we were able to do out of oppression is to make a sound that no others could actually duplicate. And it dictates the music business and the record business and the art business throughout the earth. Every artist on earth wanted to be like an American artist. Still till this day, folks. No more will they hear of the trendsetters, the music of the trendsetters. They're gonna cry because people have traveled many miles to see some of the greatest talent since this earth existed. And all of that talent came out of the oppression of the children of Israel. And the Lord said, you know what? All of those songs came out of oppression. They'll no longer hear them again. I'm going to give my people a new song where they sing out of rejoicing and love for their God instead of singing out of oppression. They'll be singing out of appreciation to their God. I'm going to give my people a new song. No longer will the merchants of the earth and others in other nations rejoice on songs that came through captivity, that came through sin and oppression. Read on.
22. And the voice of harpers and musicians and of pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee, and no craftsman of whatsoever craft shall he be, shall be found any more in thee.
Come on.
And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee.
A millstone is what? A millstone is what servants use to grind the mill. Like we did in Egypt, we used to take these millstones in slavery to grind meal under servitude. So what it's saying, the Most High is going to use these prophecies, the fall of Babylon, to set the children of Israel free. Think about that, folks, because if it was up to us, we would just work and stay in servitude forever, ever. We'd just call it a job if it was up to us. The Most High say, nah, you've worked long enough. You worked long enough. It's time for the tables to turn. It's time for your children to have rest. They need to know what it means to have rest and be served instead of serving everyone else. And that's the glory Christ is bringing. Read.
23. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee.
Go on.
For thy merchants were the great men of the earth.
Oh, check this out, Elder Lawyer. When it says the bride and the bridegroom, even under this COVID thing, man, you know how many weddings, usually the weddings are planned for the springtime. You notice that?
Yes, sir.
Usually the weddings are planned in the springtime. You know how many weddings now are just going to be they're going to be doing weddings, folks, through YouTube, where the people that should be a part of the gathering of two families coming together will witness a wedding through a video. And I don't know how they're going to, when they throw the garter belt and throw the flowers, I don't know how they're going to work that out. But folks, this is a test run, folks, of everything we're reading right now, where you won't even hear wedding bells anymore. The only thing you'll hear when you go outside is birds. And then when the destruction hits, you won't even hear the birds. Everything has fled away. No more marriages, no more nothing. That's coming. And COVID is the test run for this. Read on.
23. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee.
Come on.
For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived.
Read that again, Elder Lawyer. Read that.
Merchants were the great men of the earth.
Hold up. Your merchants were the great men of the earth. It's speaking of what? The merchants are those that have been selling their goods in agreement with the whore. Now check out what's tied to the merchants. Their religion. Read.
By thy sorceries were all nations deceived.
By thy sorceries were what? All nations deceived. So they're not just coming over here to set up a shop or a store, folks. They're coming over here with all types of witchcraft, sorcery, deceit. See? And the Most High had to do away with it, because you think that you set up a chicken shop up in your neighborhood. No, they're bringing all types of ancient demons and different types of rituals into your community. These foreigners. Satan is hand-picking Satanists from overseas and making them immigrants that come into your community to cause chaos. It's not about no chicken store or a hair store.
From India?
It's witchcraft.
Forget about where it's from. Let's focus
Just
on where
like
it's
the
going.
East Indians we
You're
showed.
not tender-headed, are you?
How they were shaving off their head to the gods and goddesses over in East India, which is part of Babylon, mind you. And sell that garbage to our women and stuff here in America, knowing
Look at you, and they see somebody
the spiritual
else, and
implication
somehow
on us
you become
for wearing it.
more of yourself.
They know that they're praying demons on our people,
Whatever it takes.
and the spirit of chaos is running us rabid. Yesterday I went into North Philly because I had to deal with something essential, like I do all the time. I have an essential thing to do every day.
The way she wants to.
Okay? And I seen a line around the corner at a Korean hair shop where sisters and all that was out there spaced 6 feet apart to get hair, wigs, and hair products. It's their sorcery. They're not just coming with products, folks. Why do our people fiend for their products as such? To a degree in which the brothers and sisters don't believe that they can live without it. It's something must be higher than just the product we go in there to buy. It's the craft they're using. It's the craft they're using in our communities. It's sorcery. And with that exchange, just like the merchants, our spirit now has been compromised in agreement with the gods they serve. The Bible tell you, where your treasures are, your heart shall be also. That's what Christ told us. So what you spend money on is where your heart is. Now, if your heart is with those merchants, now that God they serve and sacrifice to rules over you. And they praying witchcraft to Buddha and all that, saying, bring us riches, bring us blessings. And now some spirit is going into our hoods and all that, telling, go to the store, go to the store, go, go, go. It's sorcery, it's witchcraft. So the Lord is breaking this thing. See? You go into a Chinese store and look in the corner and you see a little idol there. You see an altar there with a chicken and all that, and you think that that's some regular chicken. No, that's a chicken they're going to fry up and give to you with demons in it. Little bells and sacrifice altars right in front of you. This is how they're controlling our spirit, folks, through that witchcraft. It's that craft. So the Most High say these merchants aren't just store owners. They're sorcerers. They're dealing with all types of Chango, Santa Maria, voodoo. So the Most High is saying, you know what? I'm breaking their sorcery. They're not just store owners. They're sorcerers. Read on.
24. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth.
In her was found what, Elder Lawyer?
Blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth.
And all that were slain upon the earth. They're behind. They're the conspirators behind all of the destruction we've experienced for thousands of years. Speaking of these Gentile nations who have conspired against us. And the Most High The Most High is telling them now that the reckoning is here, you merchants. You've been double crossed by Esau, and Esau will cut you asunder. Okay? The deal is off. Okay? The deal is off. The 10 horns have full power right now, and they will have power 1 hour with the beast. And eventually they'll have a standoff against Jacob. But it's not going to end like they think it's going to end. Like they've been deceived into thinking it's going to end. Yes, there will be much carnage in this war to come. But at the end of it, Jacob will be standing out of the ashes. It's prophesied. And that concludes our lesson today. All praises be to the Almighty. The rise of the 10 horns. Babylon the Great has fallen. Tomorrow I'll be in the Hebrew and Bible Academy going into Elder Lawyer. What are we going into? Who's Edom, correct? Huh?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Who is Edom is our lesson tomorrow. We're going to go into some serious history. You don't want to miss this, okay? Because while this world is falling, Israel is rising. So we're not going to stop doing what the Most High have tasked us to do and chosen us to do in this time. Like I've mentioned over and over again, we were born for this moment. Now I'm going to put this out there real quick. If you would like to support the church, the information is right there on your screen. Because why? We're going to have to get land and different things, you know, tangible things that will help our people once this stuff implodes. Once it totally implodes, we're going to need land and other things. And the Most High will allow us to get this so that we can make refuge for brothers and sisters during this time. Okay? Keep in mind, folks, we have to, whatever we have to make it into something tangible that we'll actually be able to use to help our brothers and sisters. When you're persecuted in one city, flee into the next city. Okay? So that's the phase we're in right now. If the Most High allow us to be able to get land in another country somewhere, and all praise be to the Most High, like that's opening up, we'll do so. Okay? So what we're going to ask you to do is to make sure you support our work. Okay? For those who can't, that's understood. That's understood. Whatever come in and you are without, and you are part of this body, you're working with us, those resources will be used to help you since you are without. That's fine if you don't have it. But if you do have it, support this work and turn your finances into something tangible. Because when the mark of the beast is on the scene, where you have to get the mark of the beast or not be able to buy or sell, our money will be worth nothing. And there's nothing we'll be able to do about it. So it's what we can do in this window that will help us with something tangible when it all goes down. So I'm going to ask you to support the work. I thank you all that's in the academy. If you want to be in the academy, we're only in week 4. Send an email to gatheringas1@AOL.com or just follow the details on your screen. Help support the work. As you can see, the Most High has us here before you. We have never left the watch, folks. We've been consistent and not leaving this watch. And as long as the Most High have grace on us, we'll be here before you all the way to the wilderness. Okay? I'd like to thank you, Elder Dell, for all you do and your moderating. I'd like to thank you all for joining us. This is just the beginning. There's no time for sorrow, folks. Rejoice in this time. You can hold your head up high now and say, what? I thought y'all said the Bible was a white man's book. I thought you said the Bible was false. I thought you said that the Bible was just plagiarized from some Egyptian letters. You can stand with your hand held high as a child of Israel with your Bible and say, listen, this book is the only book that illustrates from A to Z exactly what's going on in the earth. And above all, it's my book. With that, I'm going to say shalom. We love you. Stay strong. Elder Lawyer, you have anything else to say before we out? Get ready for tomorrow.
Sir, no, sir.
Okay, all right now. Brothers and sisters, stay prayed up and sin not. We will soon see Zion. I'll see you all in the academy tomorrow. You don't want to miss that. Shalom.
One.
Rome, Egypt, Sodom and Gomorrah, Babylon, system of worship. In times, we don't liberate ourselves. Come out of her, my people. Last days. Let's go. Rome was burning. Sodom and Gomorrah was visited. Before the fall, the writings on the wall. Babylon, years later, here we are. I can't interpret the writings on the wall. Scenes starting to look familiar as I look around. Pride go off before the fall, and that's what took them down. Spiritual Egypt, Sodom, Gomorrah, days of Noah, this Babylon, moments before the fall. There's a war going on outside, but in this banquet I see vanity. Look at the time, 11:59. The four horsemen are stampeding. I open the prophets and read it, writings on the wall. What's the meaning? Meanie, Tikal, Parson, Medes and Persians, rumors of war, head-on collision, no way to swerve it. Blue helmets, foreign insurgents. What's the verdict? Your days are numbered, your kingdom's divided. Ecclesiastes 1:9, it's gonna come a time. Recompenses for every crime, it's gonna be required. Till the bloodshed is avenged, the land is defiled. And they gon' see it when the Savior part the sky. Rome is on fire. Rome was burning. Sodom and Gomorrah was visited. Before the fall, the writings on the wall. Babylon, years later, here we are. I can't interpret the writings on the wall. Father made me a watchman. I can't sit back and say nothing. Washing the blood off my hands. I see the time is drawing close. Babylon been doing the most. You've been judged and found wanting, divided. The writings on the wall. Resurrect the dry bones. Babylon is exile. This is never my home. They had a legacy of crime, oppressing me and mine. Habakkuk 2:12 and 13. I see the signs. Got mercy for the rich, the poor, they demonized. They had us fooled for a minute, now we see the lies. Scattered but not forgotten. Abba kept Jacob's seed alive. It was all good until the fall. Now the writing is on the wall. Rome was burning. Sodom and Gomorrah was visited. Before the fall, the writings on the wall. Babylon, years later, here we are. I can't interpret the writings on the wall. Last days, they ain't believe us before. Now you see all these signs. Pay these laws, these prophets in their mind. Resurrect the dry bones. Babylon is exile. This is never my home. What? 11:59.